Hey guys, and welcome back. I am Rachel O'Leary and we're down in the fish room today to talk about lighting. Now if you're new here, I'm going to put a link to the tour of my fish room, how it's been for about the past 10 years. But we're getting ready to change all that, and one of the things that I really need to address with my fish room being 10 years old is that a lot of my lighting is aging out. Ballasts are dying, it's not very energy efficient. And a lot of things have come a long way in the past 10 years since I built my fish room. And I've learned a lot along the way as well. One of the things that's really important to me down here, running as many aquariums as I do, is that I want better energy efficiency. I'm currently using 2x32 watt T8 fixtures, standard shop lights from Lowe's or Home Depot. I think they cost me about $12 each when I set up the fish room, and for the time, it really was the best solution to light a whole lot of aquariums of a pretty standardized size. Now there's a lot of things that I need to think about for my application to light a lot of tanks, and the most important is probably price. Now, while it may seem like I would want to go with commercial lighting fixtures designed for aquariums, that's really not a very practical solution when you're running a whole lot of aquariums. Some of the things that I really wanted to have happen for my fish room is I wanted less plugs going into outlets. It gets to be quite a spider web of plugs around the fish room when you're running as many lights as I do. I wanted better energy efficiency. I wanted a good color spectrum. My preference is for something that's more on the blue-white side of things, and that's because it makes for better photography and video, but it's really not that important for the actual fish. I needed to be able to maintain low light planted aquariums, things like mosses, ferns, anubias, bucephalandras, you know, plants like that. I'm not particularly concerned about being able to maintain foreground planting. And I really just wanted to be able to redo everything in a quick, easy, seamless, inexpensive fashion. Now I've done a lot of research, and I actually had reached out to a few companies as well to try and get the fish room lit in a way that would be more like what someone who didn't have this many aquariums would do. But it just came down to being way too expensive, even with some sponsorship. So I decided to do it myself. And I looked at building my own LED fixtures. I looked at utilizing my old fixtures and just using LED bulbs. And then I looked at LED fixtures themselves. And it seems like the best solution for me was to go with an LED shop light. I needed to get about 30 or 40 fixtures in total for the fish room, and I decided to go with a standard 4-foot LED shop light with an aluminum housing. I have some notes here on the ones I actually chose. I wanted to be able to link them together so that I could do at least one row of aquariums per single plug into an outlet, and that way when I'm ready to redo the wiring down here and streamline things, I can get rid of a lot of the cluster that's around. So with the fixture that I chose, I can connect up to 10 lamps, and since most of my rows are 4 tanks long, I can get this big wall of aquariums, which I'll show you in a minute, down to 2 cords into an outlet, and for me that was huge. Each fixture that I chose also uses only 42 watts instead of 64, which is big. They are plug and play. They came with 2 different types of connectors, one which is a flush mount, so if I'm putting them in the ceiling or if I'm flush mounting along the top of tanks, I don't have to have any cord in between. Or they come with a 2.5-foot linking cord so that I can connect them together. They don't have any humming sound, they don't require any warm-up, but I was only able to get 5,000 Kelvin rating. So they're a little more yellow than what I want, but I think that they'll be just fine for all the plants and the fish. The other thing that I thought was really cool is they come with a 5-year unlimited warranty. Now a lot of times you'll find that a lot of shop lights that you buy give you an hour rating that will work, and that's with more typical use. I found that the vast majority of the LED bulbs and the fixtures burn out way quicker than the package says, but these come with an unlimited warranty, so that means if in the next 5 years my fixtures start failing, I'll be able to get my money back, which is really nice for me. I'll put a link down in the video description as well as in the first comment to the exact lights that I chose. I just got them on Amazon. I got them in 4 packs of complete fixtures, and they ended up being $24.96 each. That is still almost twice as much, or about twice as much as the shop lights I was buying, but at nearly half the energy consumption, and more importantly, a lot less cords and a lot more practicality. Now, because these lights are going over aquariums, it was really important to me that they had a clear cover on the bottom of the fixture, which these also have, and that will help with some of the humidity, the accidental drops, and they're also impact resistant. I'm a bit of a hot mess down here, so it's not at all uncommon for me to knock things over. One of the goals for redoing the fish room, though, is when I have my giant wall of aquascape set up, I'll be able to get lids again, which will also help protect these fixtures. So let's take a look at where we are now. If you guys were with me last week, you know that I replaced one row before I bought the rest of the lights, just to make sure I would like the color spectrum and that it seemed like they would work out for the fish room. So we'll take a look at some of the things I want to change. The aquariums, we're going to focus on lighting today, and then I'll change out some lights and we'll look at the after shots as well. So let's get started. I think it's very, very important for me to mention that the considerations for me and my fish room are not that of an average consumer. It is perfectly acceptable to buy any of the commercially produced aquarium lights for your aquarium. It is just not very cost effective for me to do that when I'm lighting this many aquariums. Today we're going to be focusing on this wall of aquariums, and I've already replaced them in the center row here. And I'm using one plug, which is plugged in up here for that entire row. And I actually think what I'm going to do is run the connector from this one down to this row and do this entire row off that plug as well. Because my tanks are 75 gallon, then 55 gallon, and then the same length of tanks up here, I can use all the same size fixtures. Now, right now, I have electrical boxes run at the ceiling line, so that way I don't have to worry about drips getting into them, above every section of aquariums. And they all go to a central timer, or the ones that are marked as this one is timer, all go to a central timer so that my lights are on a very specific lighting schedule each day. And this is important so that the plants get enough light. It's important as well, in my opinion, for the fish to have a nice schedule of day and night to prevent them being startled and jumping. And it basically helps me manage my time. Down here, the lights go off at the time when I need to get upstairs to be a mom and a wife. So the fixtures that I had are these 4-foot black shop lights, and they really have worked quite well over the years. But they're dingy, they're dirty, the ballasts are breaking, and it's just not cutting it. So I'm excited to update this for you guys. So let's take a look at the actual new fixtures themselves, and then we'll install a row and see how it looks. Now, as I mentioned, I bought these in 4 packs. So in each cardboard box are 4 complete fixtures, the power cord, whoops. So now, as I mentioned, I bought these in 4 packs, and in each 4 pack are the 4 complete fixtures, which have these ports on either end that we use for connecting or putting in the plug. They come with the power plug. They come with a flush mount connector so that you can abut them together, or a 2.5 extension connector, 2.5-foot extension connector, as well as some chains and hooks for hanging. Now, the fixtures themselves, as I mentioned, let's not drop them, are 4 feet. They have aluminum housing. They've got the clear bulb covers, which was important to me for humidity, and they mimic the dual T8s that I had so that there's not hopefully going to be any dark spots in the aquarium. It does have a hanging chain if you want to be able to manually turn them on and off. I'll probably end up cutting that off since I utilize a central timer for my fish room. Now, I think what I'm going to start with doing here is taking off the old fixtures and installing the new ones, and we can take a look how it looks. As you can see from the aquarium above it, it is a bit yellow, but the fish look great, and the plants have been extremely happy for the few weeks I've been using these already. So I'm pretty excited to get a good standardization of lighting back in my fish room. Over the years, as fixtures have died, I've plugged in clip lamps, random aquarium fixtures, ill-fitting fixtures, and it's really just become kind of a mess, and it drives me absolutely bonkers. So I'm very excited to get everything back to a standardization down here. Now in the future, as we aquascape these various aquariums, it's entirely likely that I'll get specialized lights at that time should the plants chosen require it. But for basic plants and basic being visibility of the fish, shop lights work out just fine, and they're so cheap that I think it cost me $500 to get enough lights for the entire fish room, as opposed to building my own with a massive, massive discount would have still been well over $1,000. I did look into LED floods, I did look into a lot of different options, and this just boiled down to being the most practical, the most efficient, and the most affordable for my fish room. So let's get started. We'll start here at Captain Cranky Pants. I'm going to move these out of the way. Now, as my fish room has grown, so has the chaos of cords, and it drives me just absolutely crazy that I have all these messy things around. It really distracts from the fish, it distracts from the beauty of the aquariums, and it just doesn't look very professional. And I really want to get my fish room back to the standard I had when I set it up so long ago. Now, Captain's tank is one of the few that actually has a lid, and that's because he's prone to trying to come out of the aquarium. So I'm glad that he still has a lid. You can see I at one point had tried the LED tape. Didn't work for this guy. I've tried all sorts of things for him. Now, one of the neat things about these fixtures is both ends have that connecting port. And you can pop that out if you want to connect them, or you can leave it in if you're not going to connect them. And what this means is that since I ran the lights from the other end across this row, I can use that 2.5-foot cord to connect down here and run the whole way down with no other power cords for the total of the 8 aquariums, which I think is great. Now, because Captain's fixture's one of the ones that broke first, it hasn't been on the timer forever, so I generally keep him in the dark unless we're filming him. I'm excited to get him and Whiskey back on a routine light schedule. So I'm just going to take this 2.5-foot cord and plug those two together, and it should pop right on. It's just that simple with these. I'm really pretty excited about it. So I'm going to go ahead and go down the line here, unplug these fixtures, take them out, and install them, and we'll take a closer look together. And then we'll do the top row as well. So when I'm totally done all 3 rows, we'll take a look, but this is the first 2 rows completed. And again, there's only 1 cord for all of these plugged in way up there on the side of the racks. So no more cords behind aquariums, no more cords snaking everywhere. Just the 1 cord for 2 rows, which for me just makes my happy little heart sing. So I'm going to go ahead and take off the mismatched fixtures on that top row and install them. We'll take a closer look in each aquarium so we can see how the various fish look. Real quick, I wanted to show you this other LED shop light that I had been using. Now, this thing's ancient. It's probably about 6 or 7 years old. And this was all that was available back then. And they have these frosted covers to protect the lights. And that's what was on Captain Cranky Pants aquarium before, and it just blocks too much light for it to be a good option for me. Let me go ahead and install those top row and we'll look in some aquariums. So all of the aquariums now have new lights. They're all uniform, and I had to use exactly two plugs for this entire wall of aquariums, which is 16 feet long, 3 rows high. And while the spectrum isn't perfect, I'm pretty darn pleased that everything is lit uniformly. Now, I did want to show you Captain Cranky Pants' opinion of this matter, because we know that the Diva is the most important. You can see that he has totally stirred up his aquarium and is hiding behind that log because he does not appreciate change. But you know who does? Me. I appreciate change. And when I initially set up this fish room, this is how it was. Every tank had the same lighting. Everything was evenly lit. There was very little cord mess, and I am so happy to get back at that. So just to recap, this is not the way that I would necessarily recommend a person to light their aquariums if they only have a couple of aquariums. This is simply the most economical way that I found to light my fish room, suit my needs, and be able to reduce the amount of energy consumption as well as reduce the amount of cords required to light all my aquariums to be able to see my fish and keep low light plants alive. So to celebrate, let's do some gratuitous fish footage. I hope you guys enjoy. As always, let me know below if you have any comments, suggestions, or questions, and I can't wait to finish the rest of the fish room too.